Hey writers, it's Megan Barnhart. I'm coming at you live, and I'm going to get us shared up in the Write with Megan Facebook group. If you're not already part of this group, come join us. This is a place where writers hang out, and you can get tips, connect with other writers, community, writing prompts, ask questions, even questions about grammar and style. We've got a whole doc where we capture those and talk about those little niggling questions that come up when you're writing. So whether you're working on writing books, blog posts, content for your business, or just stuff for fun, come hang out with us. I'm going to be talking about a topic that's pretty personal for me today, but that will also, I hope, give you some insights for your writing. And that is what to do when things get tough. How can you keep writing when it feels so much better to stop? Like it would be easy to just kind of walk away when you have doubts, when you wonder why you started doing this in the first place. Um, so I want to get real with you. I want to talk about my experience with that, and I want to give you what is like the thing that was most valuable for me. That's something you can use to keep going. Hi, Anne. Hi, Trish. Um, let me start with the exciting news. I just yesterday finished the first draft of the next book in my Recipe for Writing series. This is Recipe for Drafting. So those of you who enjoyed Recipe for Outlining, there's another book coming your way that's a step-by-step guide for getting through your rough draft. And, like based on the subject matter is an interesting experience because here I was writing about drafting and how to do it effectively and how to keep going and how to bust procrastination and beat writer's block and like like banish your writing gremlins. And of course, I got those. So that's the first thing I want to acknowledge is that even if you've been writing for a while, even if you have been coaching other writers for over a decade, and figuring out how to help them talk to their gremlins and beat procrastination, it's still hard. Writing a book and getting all the way through is still hard. So first thing is like if you're writing a book and you are still going, pat yourself on the back. Like a big round of applause to everybody who is still going, because it is hard. So that's the first thing I just want to acknowledge. It's hard. It's a big task. Hey, Marina. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Kate. Um, so Marina says, my mother and I are here with cheese, crackers, and wine. Oh, wonderful. I'm cheersing you in spirit, Marina. That's awesome. Okay, so that's the first thing. Let's just all acknowledge it's hard to write a book. So if it's hard, it's okay. That means you're doing it right. So I got to kind of the middle point of writing, and I started having all of these thoughts that I know are my specific gremlins. And they don't sound like doubt. They sound very rational. They don't sound like, oh no, nobody will like this book. They sound like, oh, I think I might have gotten the structure wrong. Maybe I should stop, completely reorganize, and start over. Okay. So, because I have 12 years of experience of coaching other writers, and because I have been writing for even longer than that, I have this advantage of I know what those gremlins sound like. So, that's something you can start listening for. What does like my doubt and procrastination and what does my block sound like? Does it sound like, oh, maybe I should just start over? Does it sound like, oh, maybe I should do more research? Does it sound like, oh no, this is terrible and it's garbage, nobody will ever want to read it? Listen for the voice of doubt. What does it sound like for you? Because the more you can call it out, the more power you will take away from it. It's like a bad dream. It's like a nightmare. And you turn around and you face the monster and you're like, wait a minute, I'm dreaming. I know that because I'm flying right now and my shoes are made out of cheese, right? And then it takes away the fear, it takes away the power. So start listening for those gremlins, okay? So acknowledge it's hard, start listening for your gremlins. What do they sound like? And name them, call them out, okay? So I'll tell you why I didn't stop writing. um, and it's not because of a really big reason. If you've read Recipe for Outlining, or if you've listened to me talk about outlining and planning your book, you know that I am all for creating a mission statement, a big, powerful reason that you're writing, something, a message you want to deliver, or a way you want to impact the readers. I am all for a mission statement. But the reason I kept writing didn't have to do with a big reason. And I think I know why. Because there's a certain level of losing your motivation that can be corrected or addressed by a big motivation. Like if you start to get a little bit off and you're like, but I'm writing this book so that writers will have a guide to draft so that they can write more great books. I'm like, that's really motivating. But then below that, there's another level of getting stuck or losing motivation or listening to those gremlins that needs something stronger, right? Because responding to my mission statement is something I can really only do when I'm in a positive frame of mind. It's a carrot, right? It's like a thing I want to do, right? I'm like, oh, I'm really excited about getting that out to readers. But when I'm really in the thick of the doubt, of those writing gremlins, I kind of lose my optimism. Does that happen to anybody else? Give me an emoji or share a comment. Do you get to a certain point in your writing where you're not just stuck, but you kind of have a pessimistic attitude where you're like, this is just not going to work? And if at that point somebody said to you, yeah, but you're going to change people's lives and your story will inspire people, you would just kind of be like, yeah, not not happening. I don't believe you. It doesn't sound right. Let me know. I'd like to hear if that resonates with your experience, because that happens for me and it makes it harder then to get out of the writing funk. Okay, I'm taking the thumbs up. Awesome. So this past month of August, I participated in a very simple challenge. The challenge was to write 750 words, at least 750 words every single day. And I'll share the link. I'm really enjoying this program, this site that runs the challenges and that also just gives you the space to write every day without a challenge. So here's where I was. I was in this place of the writing gremlins coming to get me. And I was also in this place of knowing that if I didn't keep writing, I was going to go on a wall of shame. Literally, like if you don't complete one day in the challenge, just if you miss one day, you go on the wall of shame. Now, for some of you, that might sound horrible, but for me, it was incredibly motivating. Add on to that, there is not just accountability with that group of strangers, but I know somebody else who's doing the challenge. Like Lori is awesome. She's in the Write with Megan group. She actually is the one who told me about the challenge and was like, hey, are you game for this? And I was like, yeah, we should do that. And we're like, yeah, and we should check in with each other, okay? So I had accountability at this big level where I'm a writer and a writing coach and an author, and I was going to go on a writing wall of shame, like, awful. Okay, then I had this backup where somebody I know, somebody I don't want to like have to disappoint was also doing it. I'm like, okay, I gotta do it. Then I started sharing publicly on my personal Facebook and Write with Megan on this page that like, hey, I'm doing this Write Every Day This Month writing challenge. So what I did with all of those things is gave myself very real accountability. So raise your hand. Is accountability something you've ever used to get more writing? I'd love to hear from you guys. Does it make a difference for you to tell somebody what you're planning on doing and having that person hold you accountable? Because for me, that was the number one thing that made the difference. My ego would not let me fail on that challenge. Now, I obviously have deeper reasons for writing this book. You know, I talked about mission statement. I talked about wanting to I've been sitting on this material and developing it for a couple of years. Like getting it out is so exciting to me. But in that place of doubt, in that place of feeling stuck with those gremlins whispering in my ear, what really made the difference was the accountability, was knowing there were people out there who were expecting this from me. And I took it to another level. I recently started bullet journaling. Does anybody bullet journal? It's like keeping track of your to-dos and whatnot. And I created this page for August that is tracking my writing. So you can see I wrote the number of words down, and then I get to color in my favorite color, turquoise, when I complete a day. And for me, the thought of looking at that chart and not seeing a day filled in was really, really motivating. So that was like a self accountability thing. And then I had these external accountability things. You guys, I laid on the accountability for this like nobody's business. And I'm able to do that because, again, I know my process. I know the things that I respond to. So that was my secret. My big secret was, did I get to color in a box in a book? Now, how infantile is that? I don't care. You know why I don't care? Because it works, right? Like if you love stickers and you give yourself a sticker chart for days when you write, or if you have an accountability buddy, or if you're in the Write with Megan Facebook group and you're letting us know your goals at the beginning of the week and your wins on at the end of the week, if it works for you, it's great. It's a plan. It doesn't have to be some fancy system. It's whatever works for you. So I'm going to go back through and look at some comments. I see people are talking about their gremlins. Anne says, I find when I have family drama, I cannot write or even get inspired, which is a really important point, because writing is important, but it's not the only important thing, and it's not even the most important in the sense of what to prioritize. And there may be times in life where it needs to just take a rest, right? You're like, you know what? Going on the wall of shame or whatever is the consequence is fine, because I need to spend my time and my energy and my love helping somebody in my family, helping myself, right? Life comes up. And Anne, I'm so glad you mentioned that. And I hope that things are going well now, but I'm so glad you shared that with us, because it's really important to acknowledge that you can always return to writing. I first started using that website that's doing the challenge, 750 words, back in July. And my intention was to write every day, but I didn't. And it felt so good knowing I could come back. If I missed a day, all I had to do was come the next day. And that's such a wonderful, beautiful point, that life happens. And it doesn't mean I can't finish the book if I miss one day of writing. Sarah says, my gremlin is the fact that I'm self-taught. So fear I'm not good enough, then my readers help me get back into it. Oh, Sarah, I'm so glad you have that feedback from readers to get back into it. I'm self-taught as well. And that's, I totally get that gremlin. I totally get that fear. It's like, oh, I didn't go and get a degree in creative writing. And sure, absolutely, that's a thought. And what takes me out of it is when I am able to help somebody else through a writing slip and go, oh yeah, this stuff works. Because I'm writing nonfiction about how to write, when I work with a client and offer a strategy and it works, I go, oh yeah, that's why I tell people to do this, because it works. So it's a similar thing. It's that feedback from other people that what you're writing really does resonate with them. So I'm so glad you get that feedback. You have to. Anne asked a good question. Do you have to pay for the site? You can get a free 30-day trial at 750 words, and after that, they ask you to join. It's a $5 a month subscription. So I have some writing buddies who started out using it with a free trial, and then once they got into the habit, because it takes about 21 repetitions of something to build a habit. So after they got into the habit, they're like, hey, I don't need this anymore, and just kept up the habit. I find that I really like the space. I really like the layout. I like that it times me, counts my words, all that kind of stuff. And I like the challenges. So I decided $5 a month was well worth it. Good question. Wow, yes. So Sarah's saying that feedback from people helped her write her first draft in 6 months. Nice. Accountability. Yep. Seen people like accountability. Okay. The 750 words thing. I will put a link to. I'm gonna put the link in once I finish, so I'm not being distracted cat. So I'm hearing from a lot of you that accountability makes a huge difference, and you know what? It's kind of embarrassing to say, like, oh, I'm just doing it because I don't want to go on a wall of shame, or I do want to go on a wall of fame. and I want to be able to fill in my check boxes. But in another way, it's very liberating because I know that I have found the thing that keeps me going. And it doesn't have to be the same thing for you. But once you find your thing, like what's the reason that's going to keep me motivated, then you'll just keep going. So there's another piece to this because I have so far written every day this month, but not every day that I wrote was on the book. Because there were some days where I went, I know for a fact that I don't know what to write next. And so I gave myself the time and space, not during my drafting time, not during my writing time, to replan. Because this often happens with a book, especially nonfiction. You have an outline, then you start getting material down, and as you see what you're actually writing, you go, oh, you know, I thought I was going to spend more time on this topic, but it turns out it goes by quickly, so I'm going to combine that with this topic to make a shorter chapter, and you know, you'll end up rearranging things. But the reason I was motivated to do that work to revise my outline was so that I could keep writing. And that's actually one of the sections in the drafting book is, you know, knowing when to walk away or knowing when you have to stop and replan. So when you think about moving forward, acknowledge that part of moving forward in your draft is sometimes stopping to replan. You're still making forward progress because you're gathering the information you need to keep writing. So it doesn't mean you power through no matter what, even if you're like, this is going nowhere. It means that you have the motivation to stop and replan so that you can keep writing. But the fabulous thing is that because I had that commitment to write every day, I really sped up my drafting process. I've noticed from the beginning of the month to now that we're close to the end of the month that I get in my flow much more easily. So of course that's another advantage of just keeping writing. So you keep yourself in practice. So if you are at a place where you need some accountability, there are a lot of different ways to get this. One, if you're not already there, I really hope you'll come join us in the Write with Megan Facebook group and tell us at the beginning of the week what your goal is so we can help keep you accountable. If you are in a place where you're diving deep into your book and you want some really major accountability, I do work one-on-one coaching authors, and I will work with you for the life of your book. So if you really want that, I know I have to show up, I know I have to get the next piece of writing done, that would be a great way to do it. And of course, that's combined with my coaching you as to how to organize and structure and what to write next and what to do when you get stuck, and activities and exercises that help get you flowing again. So if you're interested in long-term book coaching with me, I'll put a link in the comments. You can find out more about that. And another way to get accountability, of course, is join one of these challenges. There's one starting up in September if you want to get in on the Write at least 750 words a day challenge. And you could start your own accountability, right? You could grab some other writers you know and say, hey, I'm trying to write. These are my goals. I want to write for at least an hour a day, or I want to write at least 500 words a day. You can pick your accountability piece, get together with other people and make it happen. But start paying attention to what it is that really makes you keep going. Because the not so great news is it's hard to make those gremlins ever truly shut up. They're probably just going to be there. They might change what they say, they might get louder and quieter. But the good news is the more you recognize them, call them out, bring them into the light, the less power you have over them. And the more you get really clear on what motivates you, including coloring in stupid little boxes or stickers or, you know, some kind of acknowledgement of the work you're doing, the easier it will be to keep going. Anne says, that's where I am right now. I'm at the halfway point in my draft. So now I'm going through and planning the rest of my book. I try and implement the forms you shared. Awesome. I'm so glad to hear that, Anne. And as you know, it's it's a back and forth process. You write some, you plan some, you write some, you plan some. But I hope that just knowing that is more motivating, because imagine if you didn't know that. Imagine if you thought, that meant there was something wrong with your outline or with your writing approach. You're like, oh, I have to plan more. Oh no, I must be doing it wrong. Nope, not at all. So, and I'm so glad that you have that wisdom to stop, do some more planning, and get the information and material you need to keep on going, to keep on trucking. Okay. So let's see, I'm saying it out loud, so I'm reminding myself. I'm going to share a link with you all to the 750 word site for anybody who's interested. I'm not I'm not affiliated with them at all. This is actually a resource that somebody, I think I heard about a podcast. A client of mine shared a neat podcast episode with me, and the writer in the episode mentioned 750 words, and I was like, I am sold on this. So I'm not hawking them because I'm like on the board of directors. I think it's a cool resource. I use it. I think you might like it too. So I'll share that link, and I'll also share a link if you're interested in long-term book coaching with me to get that accountability and to get that help and guidance when you need to keep going through your draft and finish your book. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, please do like it, share it with another writer you know, and I will catch you all later. Have a great rest of your day and happy writing.